Hello friends, welcome to Night Whisper. Did you know that nearly 85% of those who watch my videos are not subscribed? If you enjoy the content, I'd truly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. Also, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. By the way, where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. They said if we had driven just a few seconds further, we would have burned alive. It happened on a quiet road in 1980, where nothing ever happens. But that night, the sky was not normal. A light appeared through the trees, moving closer, lower, until it stopped right in front of the road. Then it revealed itself. A massive diamond-shaped object, hovering just above the ground, glowing like fire, filling the entire forest with heat. The inside of the car started burning. Windows fogged, skin felt like it was on fire. And then it moved. Not away, but upward, slowly, silently, like it was alive. And just as it disappeared into the sky, dozens of military helicopters arrived, surrounding the same area, chasing something no one could explain. But what happened next changed their lives forever. Because the real damage didn't start that night. It started after they got home. Chapter 2, The Light in the Trees. The light wasn't steady anymore. It flickered through the trees like it was alive, slipping in and out of view as they moved forward on the empty road. At first, they tried to explain it away. A reflection, a plane, something normal. But nothing about it behaved normally. It was too low, too close, and it kept getting brighter. The forest on both sides began to glow in strange flashes, as if the light was pushing through the darkness itself. Inside the car, the mood changed. Conversation faded. Eyes stayed locked forward. No one felt relaxed anymore. The road ahead was no longer just dark pavement. It was becoming a place they didn't recognize, and the light was still coming closer. Chapter 3. Realization of danger. The light was no longer something they could ignore. What started as curiosity had now turned into discomfort, and then into concern. It wasn't just bright anymore. It was overwhelming. The road ahead looked unnatural, as if the night itself was being replaced by something artificial. The trees on both sides began to lose their shape in the glow. Shadows stretched and twisted in ways that didn't feel normal. It was like the world was being washed out by something stronger than daylight. Inside the car, silence took over completely. No one was joking. No one was guessing anymore. They were watching, trying to understand what they were approaching, but the truth was slowly forming in their minds, even if they didn't want to accept it. This wasn't a distant object. It was low, too low, and it wasn't stationary. It was moving with them, or toward them, matching their path in a way that didn't make sense. The closer they got, the heavier the air felt, like something unseen was pressing down on the road ahead. Then came the moment of realization. This wasn't just a light in the sky. There was something sitting just beyond the next stretch of road, waiting for them to arrive, and they were almost there. Chapter 4. The object revealed. They rounded the bend in the road, and everything changed. The light was no longer distant. It was right ahead of them, filling the entire view through the windshield. And for the first time, they could see its shape. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't anything they could easily explain. It was massive, diamond-shaped, hovering just above the treetops, suspended in the air like it didn't belong to gravity at all. The surface wasn't smooth, like metal they knew. It looked dull, metallic, almost gray, but alive with shifting reflections of fire-like light. And underneath it, something was happening. Flames, not like a normal fire. These were powerful bursts of glowing energy shooting downward, lighting up the trees and road beneath it like a furnace suspended in the sky. The heat hit them instantly. Inside the car, the temperature began to rise in seconds. It wasn't gradual. It was sudden, suffocating, and unbearable. Breathing felt harder. The windows seemed to trap the heat instead of blocking it. Panic began to replace shock. Whatever this was, it wasn't far away anymore. It was directly in front of them, hovering over the road, blocking their path, and it wasn't moving aside. Chapter 5. Heat and panic. The heat kept rising. It didn't feel like normal warmth anymore. It felt like pressure, like the air itself had turned into something heavy and burning. Inside the car, everything changed within seconds. The windows fogged slightly, not from cold, but from the strange clash of heat and humidity pressing against them. The metal parts inside the car started to feel warm to the touch. Outside, the object remained in place, hovering, stable, unnatural. The flames beneath it pulsed in uneven bursts, lighting the entire forest in a flickering orange-red glow. The trees looked like they were being swallowed by firelight, even though nothing on the ground was actually burning. Panic spread fast. One thought took over every mind inside the car. This wasn't safe to stay near. The driver hesitated, unsure whether to reverse or stop completely. The road behind them felt just as uncertain as the glowing barrier ahead. And then came the fear that broke everything else. What if they went closer? What if they were already too close? The heat became unbearable now. Not just discomfort, but something that forced reaction. Breathing felt tight. Skin felt irritated. Every second inside the car felt like it was draining strength. The object didn't move. It simply stayed there, waiting, as if it had already decided their position on the road. And that's when they realized stopping wasn't a choice anymore. They were trapped between turning back or facing whatever was in front of them. Chapter 6. Stepping outside, the car was no longer enough protection. The heat had become too intense, pressing in from all directions, as if the vehicle itself was being slowly cooked under an invisible force. Inside, fear turned into urgency. They had to see what was happening. One of them opened the door. The moment it cracked open, the heat outside hit like a wall. It wasn't just warm air. It was overwhelming, suffocating, almost physical, like stepping too close to a furnace that had no visible source. The night around them looked unreal. The forest was glowing in shifting waves of orange and red light from above. Shadows twisted strangely between the trees. The road itself seemed brighter than it should have been, reflecting the unnatural glow from the sky. And there it was, the object hanging just above the treetops, massive, silent, unmoving. From outside, it looked even larger than it had from inside the car. Its shape was clearer now, not mechanical in the way they understood machines, but something unfamiliar, almost alien in design. The air vibrated with heat. Every instinct screamed to go back, but curiosity held them for just a few seconds longer. And in those seconds, everything felt like it had stopped, except that object in the sky. Chapter 7. The child's terror. Inside the car, panic was reaching its peak. The child could not understand what was happening, only that something outside was wrong, deeply wrong. He was crying now, pulling at the adults, asking questions that had no answers. The fear in his voice made everything worse. It wasn't just fear of the unknown anymore. It was fear of losing control of the situation entirely. One of them tried to calm him, holding him close, speaking softly, forcing words meant to reassure even when nothing felt reassuring. But the outside world kept pressing in. The heat, the light, the silence between bursts of that strange glow from above. It all felt unreal. Every second stretched longer than it should have. The object above them remained still, dominating the sky like it owned the space around it. There was no sound of engines, no visible motion, just presence, heavy and impossible to ignore. The child kept asking if they were going to die. No one had an answer they could say out loud, and in that moment, fear wasn't just something they felt anymore. It was something they were living inside. Chapter 9. The arrival of helicopters. The silence didn't last long. As the glowing object drifted away into the dark sky, a new sound began to rise in the distance. At first it was faint, like a low vibration carried through the air. Then it grew stronger. A deep mechanical roar, multiple directions at once. The night sky, that had just gone quiet, suddenly filled with movement again. Dark shapes began appearing above the trees. Helicopters. Large ones, not just one or two, but many. Their silhouettes cut through the dim light as they approached the area where the object had been hovering moments before. Searchlights flicked on, sweeping across the forest, the road, and the fading glow in the distance. Inside the car, confusion replaced fear for a moment. Where had they come from so quickly? Why so many? The helicopters didn't behave like normal patrols. They moved with urgency, coordination, as if they were responding to something already known. Some flew low, almost skimming the treetops. Others circled higher, covering the sky. The sound was overwhelming now, heavy rotors shaking the air, blending into a storm-like roar that made everything feel even more unreal. And then came the strangest part. They weren't searching randomly. They were moving toward the same direction the object had gone, like they were following it. Chapter 10. The Chase in the Sky. The helicopters didn't scatter or hesitate. They moved with purpose. One after another, they pushed deeper into the night sky, following the faint, fading glow that the object had left behind. Their searchlights cut through the darkness in sweeping patterns, crossing over trees, roads, and open fields like they were trying to lock onto something just beyond visibility. From the ground, it looked like a coordinated pursuit. Something had already been tracked, and now it was being followed. Inside the car, the witnesses could only watch. The roar above them was constant now, like a moving storm that refused to settle. The air itself felt disturbed, vibrating with the weight of so many aircraft passing overhead. Some helicopters flew lower than others, banking sharply as they turned in formation. Others stayed higher, scanning ahead. And in the distance, the faint glow of the object was still there, moving away. Not fast, but steady, almost as if it was leading them somewhere. The entire sky felt divided into two forces now, one bright and unknown, the other loud and mechanical, chasing it through the darkness. For a moment, it didn't feel like a sighting anymore. It felt like a pursuit happening in real time, above their heads. Chapter 11. Escape and Aftermath. The object and the helicopters slowly moved farther away, their lights fading into the darkness, until the sky began to settle again. The roar soft first, then the distant shapes disappeared behind the tree line. And just like that, it was over. No explosion, no final flash, no clear ending, only silence, returning to the empty road. Inside the car, no one moved for a few seconds. It felt unreal, like their minds were still stuck in what they had just witnessed. But their surroundings had already changed back to normal. The forest was dark again. The road was empty again, but nothing inside them felt normal. They finally started the car. No one spoke much on the way home. Every attempt to explain what had happened collapsed under confusion. Words didn't feel enough for what they had just seen. When they arrived home, the shock still hadn't faded, but something else began to appear soon after. Something physical, something they couldn't ignore. Chapter 12. The illness begins. At first, they thought it would pass. Just shock. Just stress. Just the aftermath of a terrifying night. But within hours, their condition started to change. A strange burning sensation spread across their skin. Not like a normal sunburn, but deeper, sharper, more painful. Headaches followed, strong and persistent, pressing behind the eyes. Nausea came next, making it hard to eat or even stay still. One of the first signs that scared them most was how their eyes reacted. They became sensitive, swollen, and watery, as if they had been exposed to intense light for too long. Then came the skin changes, redness, irritation, and in some areas, blister-like marks that didn't make sense for a normal injury. Even the child showed symptoms: weakness, stomach discomfort, and exhaustion that didn't match what they had experienced. Sleep didn't bring relief. Each morning felt worse than the night before. What had started as fear on a lonely road was now turning into something happening inside their bodies, something they couldn't explain, and something that made them realize the night might not have ended when they drove away. Chapter 13. The Unanswered Mystery. In the days that followed, Doctors struggled to understand what they were dealing with. The symptoms were real, but the cause was unclear. There were signs of severe exposure, but nothing that matched any ordinary accident or known condition. Questions were asked again and again about the night, about the object, about the heat in the helicopters, but answers were never simple. Some believed it was an unusual environmental event. Others suspected something experimental, something possibly connected to aircraft or classified activity in the area, but nothing could be confirmed. The witnesses, however, were certain about what they experienced. They didn't see a normal aircraft. They didn't feel a normal fire or heat. And they didn't forget what hovered above that empty road. Over time, their lives changed completely. Health issues lingered. Daily life became difficult, and the memory of that night never faded, no matter how much time passed. What they encountered remains unresolved. No official explanation has fully satisfied the questions raised that night. And so the story remains open. A quiet road, a glowing object, helicopters in the sky, and 3 lives that were never the same again. The question still remains. What really happened on that December night in 1980? Some stories don't end when the moment is over. They stay behind, in memory, in fear, and in unanswered questions. What happened on that quiet road in 1980 still divides opinion to this day. Some call it an unexplained encounter. Others search for logical explanations that still don't fully fit what was described. But for those who lived through it, it was never just a story. It was a moment that changed everything. A night that turned a normal drive into something unforgettable. Something that still raises questions decades later. And maybe that's why this case continues to be discussed. Because sometimes the most disturbing part is not what was seen. It's the fact that no one has ever been able to fully explain it.